Of no dump bucket. And like I said last week, given the state of the political world right now, specifically as it relates to the United States, we've got a lot to drink about. So we're going to get started right away, and we're going to be talking to what I refer to as an old friend. Actually, not really an old friend in wine, but we're going to be talking about a wine currently featured on Cellar Angels from an old friend, and her name is Cindy Casco. Now, Cindy is a remarkable young lady. She had a 15-year career in Virginia. Her family is 4 generations ago. They came over from Italy, and they brought with them all of their heritage type of uniqueness, their traits, all of their special ceremonies, all of the things they do for things that they want to make certain they never forget. One of those things involved celebrating good food, good people, good wine. And thankfully, Cindy, fast forward 4 generations later, decided to leave a very, very successful career in law enforcement, move from Virginia to California. I'm not Rand McNally. However, that is a very, very significant cross-country move. The great thing for us is that when Cellar Angels met Cindy in 2010, she was one of our first people to be featured on Cellar Angels. So we were thrilled that she back then took a chance, because she was a very, very small producer. I think in the video we talk about it, the video that's on Cellar Angels right now, that she might have only been making 2 barrels of wine. And 2 barrels of wine is not a lot of wine. Now she's up to 1,700 cases, which in the grand scheme of things, if you're judging it by the mass-produced items on the supermarket shelves, 1,700 cases isn't a lot of wine. And the wine we're fortunate to feature, and it's kind of funny too, let me back up a second, because Cindy said she would never make a red wine. Now she's making at least a half dozen or more red wines. She didn't think she would ever get over 1,000 cases. Now she's up at 1,700 and approaching 2,000. We'll probably go over 2,000 cases soon. But the beauty of it is because her wines actually have a distinctive sense of place, and they are absolutely made with tremendous passion. So one of the things that's new since we last saw her is the tasting room that she has right off the square in downtown Sonoma. And I'm going to talk to you about the wine in the tasting room. This is the Passaggio Unoaked Chardonnay that we're going to talk about and taste here in a little bit. 2016 Unoaked Chardonnay from the namesake vineyard. So back to her tasting room, which is, if you are in Sonoma and you are in the Sonoma Square, you have to walk into her tasting room because it is so quaint, so idyllic, and so fun. You will have missed an opportunity if you do not taste with Cindy and or her staff in Sonoma. So I encourage you to go there. If you can't wait that long, and who can, and since temperatures have finally climbed in Chicago, we have the Unoaked Chardonnay available on the site right now. Thankfully, Cindy has reduced it a little bit in price to encourage purchasing and also to raise money for our charity partners. So that's important. But let's talk about Chardonnay. Chardonnay is easily the most popular wine in the world. We might want to fix that angle of the camera and just push that tripod down. A little technical difficulty because the world headquarters of Cellar Angels is designed for wine, not cinematography. All apologies to James and Leslie Sims from Sims Production. So Chardonnay is extremely popular around the world, if not the most popular wine in the world. It's probably also one of the ones that's most heated and debated, and probably partly because it was mass-produced starting in the 90s and 2000s, some big companies, and what they did was they put it on oak. Now, oak fermentation is fine, and a little oak actually helps Chardonnay. However, many of the mass production houses, whose names I cannot name because their attorneys and their pockets are much deeper than ours, they wanted to just over oak, and they thought a little bit of oak is good, a lot of oak must be really good. So you saw this pendulum swinging back and forth between Chardonnay producers. Interestingly enough, Chardonnay comes from Burgundy, and there it's referred to as white Burgundy. So the Bergs in the white Bergs in Burgundy receive very little oak, mostly stainless steel. which is exactly how Cindy has fermented the Unoaked Chardonnay from the namesake vineyard of 2016. It's in stainless steel, so now you may miss out on that toast and that vanilla. However, what you think you might be missing is more than made up for in the body of this wine. So, as the tasting notes on the Cellar Angels site indicated, absolutely some tart apple, but not so tart where you can't chew it apple. See, that's awesome, and I like the tartness because I can feel the acidity and that raciness. So it has that tart apple, has a lot of citrus on it. So that part of that's the apple side of it, and you think of that citric acid. So the citrus is really, really prominent, but there's a weight to the wine, the body, and the body of the wine feels medium in your mouth. It's not a big, heavy wine that's coating your mouth and your tongue and stuff like that, but there's definitely a weightiness to it that is beguiling. It's a Sauvignon Blanc that you might get from New Zealand has that racy acidity and that citrus and stuff like that, but that's it. It doesn't have many of them. It doesn't have that body, that depth. This has that. And also, what I love is that, this is where my wine acumen fails me and eludes me, is the tropical notes. So I'm a huge fan of the tropics. I love kiwi, I love pineapple, I love mango. And there's elements of that, because those are soft fruits almost. They don't have the citrus acid that a lot of the grapefruit, the tart apple has, lemons and things of that nature. It just has that great lusciousness to it. So imagine if you can see this, if you can, that beautiful straw color. It's not that golden yellow color you see in a lot of American-made Chardonnays that are really intensely oaked, where all you smell is a wood pile and a stick of butter. No, you're not going to get that here. I can already feel the back of my mouth watering because it is just, it has a high acid level, but the body is delicious. Type of wine that you want to have more than one sip, more than one glass, which I think Carrie, our chief operating angel, described it as very quaffable. This is certainly one you can have on the patio, on the back deck. And also, by the way, Chicago folks and Wisconsin folks, it's a screw cap. So this is very, very good for outdoor entertaining, especially good for Ravinia festivals. So Ravinia, outdoor area in the North Shore of Chicago that features an array of concerts, from symphony to Boz Scaggs to who knows who's coming this summer. And this type of wine, and I know you have those in wine country in California, Napa, Sonoma. This is the perfect wine for a screw cap, and it's an outstanding bottle of Chardonnay. I'll hold up the label so people can see that. And I'm just going to have some more. Now, one of the things I wanted to pay tribute to with Cindy, she doesn't know this is coming, is that as a law enforcement person, Cindy is one of those people that for years ran to trouble. And this past Saturday, we had the opportunity, Cellar Angels, to help host a major fundraiser and charity event here for the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation. And if you ever saw the movie American Sniper, you are familiar with Chris Kyle. Well, his widow, Taya Kyle, carried on his desire to have a foundation. And the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation held an event this past Saturday in Chicago. I believe there was over 300 people there. And it was an amazing event because what they do is their mission is essentially to honor God, honor country, and honor families. And specifically the families who are military families and first responders. And they do this by creating experiences that support them, the military and first responders' marriages. So Taya Kyle had a tremendous amount of research with regards to these folks are on active duty. Many of them, imagine this, you have an active duty person in the military who's married to a first responder EMT. All they see is trauma all day long. They run to trouble. So they're the ones out there protecting us. So it's an honor for us as Cellar Angels to be able to feature wines to help protect them. And I encourage you to go to the Cellar Angels website. You'll see a ton of people there, and you'll see a ton of the wineries that helped support and raise. I believe Cellar Angels was directly involved in events that raised $40,000 for the evening. So hats off to Cindy, and hats off to all of the first responders and all of the military. Thank you for doing what you do. Some of the videos and some of the interviews and some of the speeches that evening, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. So it's pretty impressive. And Taya Kyle, you are an inspiration. It's been great getting to meet you. And this is a Chardonnay that we think you're gonna love. The mercury's climbing. The need for a great unoaked Chardonnay is always present. So do yourselves a favor, grab some of this wine. You will thank us later. And as the saying goes by someone I know from, yes, the caller?
No, I was going to say just a shout out to Dan Godaris.
Oh, and Dan Godaris, who actually
Loves Passaggio.
yes, Dan actually knows Cindy longer than we do. And we've known her since 2010. This is our third featured wine from Cindy. So we are honored, Cindy, to feature the wine. And it's actually tasting fantastic right now. So we hope everyone enjoys it. And don't forget to pick a charity out the door. And we thank you so much for your support. Again, no dump bucket. Until next week, make someone a meal, be good to each other, and enjoy a great glass of wine. Thanks so much, everyone.